had them, Eli Cross and Ashley Perrin, who are actually first-year students from the University of Leicester. And they are studying geology with paleontology. So amazing that they're in their first year and they're already like got stuff to talk about. I was just like drunk in my first year.
I just think we do that too.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, please welcome them to the stage.
Hi everybody, great to see everybody's turned up. I mean, I don't even know how to carry on from such an amazing talk that we just had, but we'll try our best. We thought we'd kind of, hello? Yeah, we thought we'd kind of, yeah, it works good. Introduce ourselves a bit, since we are kind of new to a few people here, and by few I mean most. So my name is Eli. As I said, we are geology paleontology students. I've been dreaming of getting into paleontology since I was 3 years old. Here's little Eli here out at Lyme Regis. I'm a big fan of all field work. Here I am in the Isle of Arran, very happy. I'm a volunteer at the Leicester Museum and Art Gallery, but I live in Lancashire. Any Lancashire people here? No? Great. Just me then. My favourite rock's blue schist, and the most important thing, I run a geology YouTube channel in my free time because I just love talking to people about rocks, and I'm really interested in like geocommunications and stuff, and just getting the word out there about geology. And this talk will be uploaded on there after this.
I'm a cameraman.
Yeah, he's a cameraman. A couple of people asked if we're siblings. We're dating, I really hope not.
Yeah, I'm Ashley. I'm quite new to geology. I'm also doing geology with Paleo, University of Leicester. I only really got into geology about probably a year and a half ago, so very new. First field trip was to the Isle of Arran. That was intense but very good. And I've played guitar. Yeah, here's me at Bradgate. Here's me next to Carnia. Museum of Birmingham. Birmingham University Museum.
Lapworth, yeah.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah! Lapworth fans.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, to start off this talk, we're kind of going to talk about where Bradgate Park is, not just geographically. Yeah, Bradgate Park. Not just geographically, but geologically, because that is important. So, Bradgate Park, right up here, where I've got the big red circle already, in Leicestershire, just kind of to the northwest. And geologically, it is incredibly different to the rest of the area. If you kind of look at these pale bands right here on this geological map, these are all just kind of really boring Triassic mudstones. Most of it's called the Mercia mudstone, and there is absolutely nothing important in them, and they serve no purpose to us whatsoever. However, if you look at these little pink blobs up here, these are really important because these are Ediacaran. So we are talking 635 million years ago to 538 million years ago, just before the Cambrian started, where we had the Cambrian explosion, as some of you may know. We've got three main rock groups in this Chinese supergroup here. The main one we're going to focus on is the Maple Well, as this is really important. We've got this big kind of geological structure here, which is called the Carnian anticline. So this formed during the Caledonian orogeny, due the late Devonian to early Silurian times, and is an important part of the rock record here at Bradgate Park. If we look actually at the exact rocks here in Bradgate Park, we have the Beacon Hills, the Bradgates, and some South Charnwood diorites, which aren't that important, but they are pretty cool. There's a lot of really cool dikes that have intruded along strike slip faults there, so if you ever visit Bradgate Park, be sure to look out for those. They are really cool. But yes, the Maple Wells are really important. I've got this absolutely beautiful photo that I took on Beacon Hill right here, of this lovely wavy bedding. Just absolutely gorgeous, love all the colours in it. So, what actually is the Maple Well series consisting of then? Well, it is a weird one for a fossiliferous rock, because usually when you think fossils, you think, ooh, muds, maybe fine sands and stuff, but no, this is made of volcanic sediments. So, we have these volcanic ashes, we have these kind of volcanic glasses, as well as like these quartz and feldspar crystals that are also in these rocks, which is incredibly weird. And if you want a long name for it, we've got the volcaniclastic metasedimentary siltstone for a big name, which just means made of volcanics, been a bit metamorphosed, very small grains, basically. Some call them tufaceous siltstones, some call them tuffs, some older papers call them slideglomerates, but this one's pretty alright. We've got mostly the Beacon Hill Formation and the Bradgate Formation, which consist of a lot of kind of soft sedimentary features, such as lode and flame casts. We've got turbidity currents and turbidite sequences, which I couldn't find in the part myself. And I've got my own sample here, which has very, very small ripple marks on it, and I definitely remember to bring the sample with me to pass all around to you. Now, if you look actually at the sample, it might not be so great on the picture, but it does have these green and purple colours to it, which is actually very telling of the fact it was metamorphosed. The green and purple comes from these minerals like chlorite and some micas, which weren't actually formed when the volcanic ash was deposited, but rather during the Caledonian orogeny when the folding occurred for the Carnian anticline. And also when the volcanic ash settled onto the seawater, it reacted with magnesium and ions in the seawater mostly to produce some of the minerals in there. And of course this is the beds where the animals, or we'll get into that later, the Ediacaran species were found that are so important to this. But let's talk a bit about the environment first. So where actually was Bradgate Park at the time of deposition? If you look at this fairly small piece of land right here, we've got a place called Avalonia, which is right above the supercontinent Gondwana and is subducting, as it's an oceanic plate, under Gondwana, which created an island arc. And this island arc set up our kind of structure for the deposition of these rocks, because obviously as the island arc volcanoes erupted, they deposited ash straight into the ocean, right on top of the Carnian. There's a bit more of a complicated diagram there showing all of the kind of supercontinents colliding with each other, but you know. As you can see, most of the stuff from this event is in Wales, but for some reason, over here in Charwood Forest, we still have a tiny bit of it anyways. Why was it preserved though? I mean, in volcanic ash, you don't usually get that at all. This was the only thin section or micro photograph or anything I could find of this rock. But if you have a keen eye, you'll notice that the sediments are incredibly small, which allowed them to preserve this amazing detail on the Carnian. As well as this, the turbidity currents that I previously mentioned along the volcano and along the sea floor, which occurred around here, were incredibly good at rapidly burying the Carnian specimens that were around at the time, which allowed them to be very well preserved. There's also very little evidence of any predation in the Ediacaran. It's only really towards the end Ediacaran that we kind of get specimens that might have predated, but it's not nearly in a way that is similar to current day life, and so was not really a threat towards fossilization. And the rocks are a lot more resistant to erosion due to the previously stated metamorphosis, where it became slightly harder and more resistant to erosion. So the fossils didn't really wear over, they just kind of stayed there. As you'll see, there is a lovely A. Perrin specimen right next to the C. Masoni, Carly Masoni holotype at the Leicester Museum and Art Gallery. Come visit, I might be around. So let's actually talk about the discovery before we actually get into the meat and flesh of what this really is. Originally, I had to mention that Tina Nagus was the original person to find the Carnia in 1956, but she was completely dismissed by her teachers because unfortunately the way that women were treated in science at the time meant that she was just not believed. She was just told that she was being silly, that it was just some weird sedimentary thing, and that she should just go on about her day like it was nothing. However, when Roger Mason found it in 1957, he created a rubbing of it with like a pencil and a paper and sent it to a little journalist who said, "Oh, this looks interesting." Got it on a paper, on an article. The scientists went over and went, "Wow, we found Ediacaran life." And therefore the Carnia Masoni was named after Roger Mason instead of Tina Nagus, unfortunately.
So, what is the point of even looking at Ediacaran life? Well, it's extremely different to the types of body plans that we have in the modern day. Lots of Ediacaran life. Is that the little pointer? Yes, it is. Disc-like, front-like. They're all kind of like meaty, mushy, no hard parts or anything like that, and they're all sessile as well. Whereas your kind of modern style body plans are more motile. Sorry. They have hard parts. They have like specific organs for feeding, like mouse and guts and stuff like that. So they are extremely different to Ediacaran life. So can we actually link any Ediacaran life to modern animals at all? There is kind of a little argument saying some of the reindeer type stuff like Carnia is similar to like peninsulations, like sea pens, and then also quite significantly there's an overlap between Ediacaran life and kind of more modern styles of life in the range of like tens of millions of years, especially in the kind of last 12 million years of the Ediacaran after the first kind of pulse of extinction. But these guys here, I believe, if you look at this here, the darker is younger, which I think should be flipped around. So it's younger at the bottom. When it grows, it has like primary polyp that sits in the ground, oozoid, and then it kind of grows up, generate polyps at the bottom. So the generative zone is actually at the bottom, whereas they think, quite speculative, very speculative, Carnia would have had the generative zone at the top. You can't really say how many generative zones there are. I think there's one, but it's just purely based on the size of the branches at the top there. So that's kind of a primary difference in one of the kind of niche similarities that there are. There we are. So what happened at the Ediacaran-Cambrian transition to cause such a drastic change in the types of life that there were? So there were some major events such as carbon excursions, which were linked to mostly the second pulse of extinction, so that was around about 538 million years at the end of the Ediacaran. But there were also emergence of biomineralizing taxonomies like Cardinia, which is quite significant because a lot of these were actually infaunal. So you'd have microbial ground mats that were then disturbed by these infaunal creatures, which basically were massive ecological engineers for the environment. They would basically perturb the ecological systems so much so that there would be a turnover of life and emergence of new species. And kind of this period after, so you've got the White Sea assemblage, which is before 550 million years. There was a first extinction pulse because of that biotic turnover, where Triradiomorphs, Tetradiomorphs, Bilateromorphs, and Dictoniomorphs, all a lot of mouthful there, all kind of went extinct. They're not as complicated as they sound. It's basically just the amount of lines of symmetry. You have Bilateriomorphs, bilateral symmetry, tri, 3, 4. Dictoniomorphs a little bit different because they have glide symmetry. So imagine like footprints in sand. If you took a line across those and then realign them, they would be bilaterally symmetrical. But if you misalign them, they're glide symmetry, and that's kind of the thing that they had going on. A little bit weird, but do what you want, big concern, I suppose. But yeah, so that first little pulse of extinction led into a very kind of diverse, poor ecosystems in the Nama assemblage. But you did have, like I said before, new types of life emerging. You still had reindeer morphs, such as like what Carnia is, that persisted, but you also got more tube-dwelling animals and calcifying Lophotroxones. Lophotroxone is just like a kind of tube that comes out to feed. And there was a shift from sessile life forms, so something that just basically sits on its arse all day, to motile, it moves around. It kind of occupied a little more of the sea column as well, and obviously went faunal. I think this diagram's actually slightly wrong, because in the Ediacaran you had the emergence of infaunal creatures, not only in the first stage of the Cambrian. So, two extinctions. Is it catastrophe or biotic replacement? We've already discussed biotic replacement with one of them. So, there's kind of several lines of evidence for each. However, the prevailing kind of theory is that the first was just biotic replacement because those new kind of animals emerged and they were harmful to the soft to like a sudden event that would have been catastrophic, like an example is Great Dire and stuff like that, catastrophic events. And you had you've introduced a species to a couple plants there, and now they're fighting.
Love the illustration.
Yeah. That's biotic turnover in a nutshell. Plants versus Zombies Garden Warfare. Yeah, think about it that way. There's a couple parallels you can draw with other extinction events from the kind of pulses in the end Ediacaran. So for the biotic turnover, you can look to, I think in the Devonian, when there was emergence of like non-woody forests, so no wood yet, but still foresty. They caused a lot of changes to weather patterns, and it caused anoxia and eutrophication, and that caused huge biotic turnover. Whereas at the end of the Ediacaran, you had a catastrophic event with your carbon excursions, which can be linked back to volcanism, which that is what happened. So your first one, like I said, biotic replacement. Second one, you had a catastrophic environmental collapse. I believe it was southwest Avalonia on the paleocontinent. There was a huge fissure. It was 5,000 foot deep and wider than the Grand Canyon, expanding day on day. I think some figures say it was like, reaching 100 miles long, but you can't really say an exact number, I don't think. And obviously with that, you're getting huge plumes of volcanic ash in the atmosphere, and you're getting billions of tons, literally billions of tons of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So not only did they get a volcanic winter at the end of the Ediacaran, they also got extreme heat after the volcanic winter from the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. They kind of just got wombo combo there, didn't they? So that spelt the end of the Ediacaran and allowed the ecological space to free up for more modern styles of life to emerge. And that's kind of the story of the Ediacaran.
That was great, really, really good. You two are going to go far, definitely. Sure, great.
Job in McDonald's, maybe.
No,
Definitely not.
that was excellent,
Hopefully not.
really, really good.
That's a paleo job, that is.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Yeah, have we got any questions?
So this volcanic activity is so bioturbation. Is there sort of, have you gone into how much that really, did it just lap over the top of these sediments and completely crush what was in situ, or was it like a timely thing? Take a little bit of time.
So I think it would have kind of been a situation where they were just completely covered in one event, because there was not really, like I said, they just sat there basically. And same with Carnia, it kind of formed these kind of little groups where they'd all be. So you imagine a group of things rooted in the sediment that just can't move at all, other than maybe swaying a little bit with the ocean. They're just going to get completely covered by the sediments that are, covering them.
You can go to, if you go to Bradgate Park, you can see the China distance fossils quite easily, especially if the light's right.
We have not seen them there. Even in the museum, they're quite difficult to see depending on the lighting. Oh, that's cool.
You
We'll have to go.
Bradgate Park, you see China discus.
I think a field trip.
Yeah.
I'd go on that.
A huge rock cast about 10 metres long in another quarry, whose location we're not allowed to know, but of a whole sea floor of the Ediacaran fossils. I saw it there about 10 years ago when we had a conference on the origin of the Ediacaran. So the region's actually quite amazing.
We're just quite familiar with the university investigating.
That's right. And also David Ford, who Roger Mason was a lad, was told by David Hall, stop waiting for attack, go away. Roger Mason's father, who was a rather sort of strict person, said, how dare you call my son alive? Marched up to the university, confronted David Hall and forced him to come up with the fossils. So it's,
I suppose that works sometimes, eh?
So these layers. So are they right on that transition then? From you've got the previous sediments, good to go, but then you've got those sediments on top.
Do you mean the?
Is it clearly? Sort of
between the Ediacaran and the Cambrian.
Exactly that. Yeah. With those.
The boundary between the Ediacaran and the Cambrian is not very well defined, and it's quite difficult to actually say where the boundary is.
Gotcha.
So there's been a lot of stuff around finding some Ediacaran animals.
Just wedged
some
right in between.
Ediacaran stuff that's possibly happened like in the Cambrian, but then it's difficult to say that because it's so hard to define the boundary as is. So it's not very easy to define that boundary.
And also the very few rocks in that age.
Yeah.
Cool, that's the worst one.
Another question?
Yeah, what's your guys' favourite Ediacaran organism?
Trust Ben.
When in the flat gets to T-Rex.
I'm quite immature, so
I'm going to go for the cat.
It does be T-Rex.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, I'm more of a geology person, so I'm not too brushed up on my Ediacaran Fauna as much, but I am quite a big fan of the carnios, which is why I kind of decided to make this talk in the first place.
When you said,
What's your favourite
I
rock?
genuinely thought you was going to say the cat on the screen.
It's already on the
Oh, it is on there.
slide.
Yeah, the one you were going to bring me.
No, not that
The
one.
favourite rock, yours is
That one.
blue schist.
I love blue schist.
Right.
That's right, blue
Show me
schist.
blue schist, please.
Wow. Where can you find blue schist in the UK?
One place.
Oh yeah.
Anglesey. That's it.
Oh.
That's the only place it is.
But we are going Anglesey.
We are going Anglesey, and I will.
You must go to the rock museum there. What's it called? If you go to Anglesey, there's a guy who's a geologist, and he's not registered as a brown seat signpost, but he's got a private museum in the Anglesey public from his house. There's a massive dinosaur fossilized, fossil. Oh goodness, so bad with that now. Right, so he. I can't remember the name. The Stone Museum. It's called the Stone Museum. Has anyone been there? Oh my god, you should all go there. This guy.
Another field trip.
Yeah, this guy is amazing. It's called the Stone Museum. It's on the Anglesey.
Got it.
And he is a retired geologist, also big fossil collector, been all over the world, brought all these specimens back and now has them all on display. And he's made paper mache, like arthropleura and all sorts to offset. And it's just the most crazy museum you've ever been to, but go. He's got better samples than we've got in the museum.
Is it called
Steve,
Stone
our lecturer,
Science?
as well.
Yeah, Stone
Yeah.
Science.
So we have a trip to North Wales and Anglesey, and we'll go
Yeah.
get some blue schist.
Yeah.
We'll also go and stop, and we'll also stop by Tim's storied Wimbo as well on the way.
Yeah.
Double, absolute North Wales double whammy.
Yeah, that's it. Get the whole
Stone
Wales.
Science Museum.
Let's just like spend the next month in North Wales. shall we?
Yeah,
After this is done.
Trip to Leicester after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not Leicester.
Well.
Bradgate itself, and then gone.
Yeah. Bradgate Ediacaran. Yeah, that's about right.
How long are you two here until?
Sunday.
Till Sunday.
Yeah.
Great. Well,
Didn't David Attenborough once say he found his first fossils at Bradgate?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was
Oh,
it.
David Attenborough did. He was saying about how
All the way
David
research.
Attenborough.
Because he's a Leicester. Attenborough is a Leicester boy.
I just part that often.
Yeah.
He did once say that. Found like jellyfishy type.
Yeah. That was Bradgate Park. Yeah.
Yeah, our uni had something to do with him. Something about he was raised at the uni or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to all
Yeah, he's a
that.
Leicester boy. I think his father worked at Leicester University.
Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, cool.
Obviously, we're good mates.
Right, well done, you two.
Right, well, yeah.
Whereas true metazoans, or animals, as the layman would call them, are all they have complex feeding organs specifically for eating. They have hard parts, complex body plans,
and even the early Cambrian species were in fact foundations for modern animals. Some examples of these: cnidarians, mollusks, annelids,